If you think you have what it takes to make the best bracket out there, then you got to join our ESPN Bracket Challenge for the far end of the bench. We're bringing it back for 2022. One bracket this time, one bracket entry per person. Once you get signed up, you follow us on all of our social medias at FEOTV Pod. You guys can see, if you're watching on our YouTube or on the Spotify video, you can see the sign in the background. Be sure, follow us there, subscribe to our YouTube channel, sign up, and then when the brackets do come out, make sure you make your picks. Lock in your picks before the tournament starts. And if you win, you have a chance to win a $150 Visa gift card. You'll get bragging rights. You'll get a shout out from us. You might get one of the shirts that we still have hanging around for free. But we'll definitely be giving you guys a $150 Visa gift card for the winner, whoever has the most correct teams picked in that tournament. The link is pinned currently on our social media at FEOTV Pod, on our Twitter. It was on our story on Instagram. It's also going to be in our bio on Instagram as well. So sign up today. Far End of the Bench 2022. I believe it's Bracket Challenge. If you just search FEOTB 2022 bracket, you guys should be able to find the group, or you can check out the links directly in our bios and pinned to our social media profiles. But get in on the action. Winner walks away with some cheddar this year, and that could be you. $150 could be in your pocket if you know March Madness as well as you think you do. So let's get in it, get on it, get signed up with the Far End of the Bench. From an extremely negative situation to now an extremely uplifting or positive situation, we're going to have craziness during this year's March Madness tournament, and it reared its ugly head back on the top teams, unfortunately, in the AP polls on Saturday afternoon. Throughout the actual entire day, we had St. Mary's upsetting Gonzaga to kick things off. Actually, I think Arkansas might have been the first upset, but I'll just go over because I don't want to get any of these wrong. We saw number 1 ranked Gonzaga lose at home to number 23 ranked St. Mary's. Number 2, Arizona loses on the road to an unranked Colorado Buffaloes team, who actually, before that game, was coming off a terrible loss themselves to Arizona State. So that was a huge bounce back for the Colorado Buffaloes. Number 3, Auburn loses to number 17 Tennessee at home, no less. Michigan State upset number 4 Purdue. Number 5, Kansas was upset by the defending national champions, 10th ranked Baylor. Number 6, Kentucky was lost to Arkansas. I believe that was the first upset of the Saturday. And number 7, Duke, behind Mike Krzyzewski in his last season, losing to Syracuse. And number 9, Texas Tech, dropped their game to TCU. Overall, 8 teams out of the top 10 in the AP poll lose on Saturday. And it begs the question, how much is this going to come into a play for the teams that are kind of in that weird spot? And I speak of the bubble, the dreaded bubble. I don't know if you've bet on March Madness before, filled out a bracket, you know the bubble that I speak of. I'll try and explain it best as I can. It's the little bit of hope that you hold on if you're a fan of a college basketball team, that you might be able to be one of those lucky 64 selected to represent college basketball in the second greatest television sporting event of the year, behind the Super Bowl, in this March Madness tournament. It's truly a spectacle, and it is year in and year out. The year that we missed out on it when the pandemic first started was absolutely terrible, and now that it's been back, it's been great. And speaking of the bubble, we have to speak of our 3, we call them local teams here at the Far End of the Bench. Nico will agree with me. CU, he's talked about his affiliation to CU with his siblings. CSU, they're close enough in Fort Collins that we kind of pay attention to them. And then also Wyoming. Those 3 teams all have very legitimate chances of making the NCAA tournament this year, and they're all in a little bit different of a scenario. So we'll start with the Colorado Buffaloes in the Pac-12. 5th ranked in the Pac-12 currently, and they are 19-5. So they are still looking to get to win number 20. They finished the season with 1 game at Utah. I believe it's either the night that you guys are able to listen to this, Wednesday night, or a little bit later on in the week. But CU will finish off with the Utes. and then go into the Pac-12 tournament, that's where they're going to have to do a lot of their damage. Like I said, that loss to Arizona State is costly. Getting the win back against Arizona, especially at this point in the season, college basketball has that weird point system to where they count wins and losses differently depending on where each team is at the beginning or ends of their season. So we'll talk about CSU, but CSU has a win over St. Mary's very early on in the season. I think it was the fourth game and at a neutral site in a tournament. So it's not looked at as impressively as Colorado hosting the number 3 ranked Arizona Wildcats and beating them in Boulder. So Arizona gave Colorado a big major stepping stone to give them a chance. However, the 5 losses, the sometimes showing up, sometimes not. You heard Tad Boyle after the loss to Arizona State. He eviscerated his team. There was talk about his team maybe not coming out. It was either going to be one of two ways. He was either going to tear his team down and they weren't going to have the ability to come back from it, or he was going to push all the right buttons. They were going to respond. They were going to be able to pull off one of the biggest wins in program history. I think they've either had 2 or 3 times where they've upset an AP top 5 team, and in Boulder no less. That was a huge thing for the Buffalo program, and they've given themselves a shot. You've got to get to the Pac-12 championship. At the very least, get to the Pac-12 championship. If not, win the Pac-12 championship. It depends on who they play. If they're playing one of the Blue Bloods, the Expecteds, the UCLAs, the USCs, Arizona even, because Arizona is still going to be ranked very highly in that Pac-12 tournament. They're playing those teams in the championship. You can lose and maybe still catch an at-large bid from the Pac-12. If you're playing a shocker team, we saw Oregon State go on a crazy run during the postseason of last year. If you're playing Oregon State in the championship, you're going to have to win that game. Otherwise, you're not getting a bid, and if you get a bid, you're going to be one of the very last seeds catching a number 1 seed like Gonzaga in round number 2, and that just doesn't bode well for you. If you're Tad Boyle and the Colorado Buffaloes, winning the Pac-12 championship is basically guaranteeing yourself a spot at the dance. So that's what the Colorado Buffaloes are looking at right now. Get to 20 wins on the season. Can't have any hiccups against Utah. If you lose against Utah, it's damn near going to be impossible for you to do anything other than win the conference tournament to make the NCAA tournament. Colorado State, actually we're going to Wyoming next. Wyoming, they are 3rd in the Mountain West Conference, and the Cowboys, best case scenario, if they want to give themselves as much of a fighting chance as possible, semifinals or a championship run in the Mountain West Conference tournament is pivotal when they go out there to Las Vegas in a couple weeks. The Cowboys split the season series against CSU. That's going to end up being one of their better wins. The rough thing about the Mountain West Conference teams is that none of them have a real signature victory. I mentioned St. Mary's for CSU. You can argue it, but that really isn't the same St. Mary's team that just knocked off number 1 ranked Gonzaga. Wyoming, as a program, overachieved this season. This was not something expected out of Laramie, so they'd be excited. Honestly, Wyoming kind of seems more like a highly ranked NIT team this season, just with the way that they weren't expected to do much. Does that mean they can't go on a crazy run? Any team can get hot at the right time. And that's the best part about these conference tournaments, is that the teams with the best records don't always win. Oregon State, I keep going back to them, but that was the prime example. They were nowhere at the end of the regular season last year in the Pac-12. They come out and shock 3 teams in the Pac-12 tournament and get to the Pac-12 championship and give themselves a tournament bid. So anything is possible for these Wyoming Cowboys. I think they have to be proud of a more than 20-plus win season. I think they can get up to 25 if they're able to finish things out. They go to UNLV, I believe, is their final game. Let's see here. I have it down in my notes. Yes. They will be playing UNLV to wrap things up. And actually Fresno State. Wyoming gets Fresno State to end the season. And they will be looking to see how their seeding is going to shake out. Should be in the top half of the Mountain West Conference bracket. But depending on how things happen, they did just kind of have a little bit of a slip up this past weekend. So Cowboys are one of those teams where they can be really hot or they can be really cold. And if they go cold at this bad of a time, they can miss out on the tournament entirely. The CSU Rams, Colorado State University, up in Fort Collins, is on a tear. Number 2 in the Mountain West Conference behind Boise State. I don't think they have a chance to win the regular season championship, but boy, this is going to be their team. If they're going to win the conference tournament, this is going to be the team that does it. They have more leeway than does Wyoming when it comes to possibly making it to the championship and losing and catching one of the at-large bids, but it is going to have to be a team. It's going to have to be them and Boise State, if you want to be frank about it. Boise State and Colorado State in the championship. Loser of that will then still possibly catch a bid to go to the NCAA tournament. Anything other than that, you're going to have to hope for a lot of chaos in a lot of other conferences. You're going to have to hope Gonzaga maybe slips up in the WCC. One of the lower-ranked teams in the Big East maybe steals it like Georgetown did last season under Patrick Ewing. But the best way you can control your destiny, and it's easier said than done, is to win. If you just win your conference tournament, you obviously give yourself the best chance to get onto the main bracket. That's what we were always told in wrestling tournaments. If you want to be in the best positions come the placing days, just continue to win matches, win games. And these teams have proven, 5, 6, 7 games in a row, you can start getting yourself into a groove where it's going to be very difficult to stop you. UCLA, that Final Four run UCLA had last season, should give anybody hope throughout the entire tournament that if you want to go on a run, if you want to do something this season, you're more than capable of getting that done. And the coaching as well. I think if you want to give a nod to any of the 3 coaches, Tad Boyle has the best grip on his team, but you can't do what any of these 3 teams did and not have guys behind the bench that know exactly what they're doing and how they're going to get their team to the next level. All 3 of these teams, it would be great to see all 3 of them make it. I'm hoping we at least see 2 out of the 3, maybe CU and CSU onto the main bracket, but that would be a huge turnaround because I remember Colorado State basketball it seems like a few months ago, was maybe a little bit of a laughingstock, and now we're talking about them as true Mountain West Conference tournament contenders. So college basketball, it's going to be wild. March Madness is going to be out there, and that's going to bring us